As we do our best to physically distance ourselves from others, there are plenty of people who don't have that option. Stepping Stone Emergency Housing is a homeless shelter for single adults, the only one of its kind in Anoka County. And right now, COVID is changing a lot about the way the shelter operates. Julie Jepson is the executive director of Stepping Stone Emergency Housing. The shelter has 66 residents, with a waiting list of more than 400 people. She says they are doing the best they can in light of the changes brought by COVID.
We are partnering very, very well with Anoka County Social Services and Behavioral Health to socially distance our residents from one another, because congregate settings are a hotbed for this virus because there's no option to socially distance.
To spread people out a bit more, about half of Stepping Stone's residents have moved into a nearby hotel. About a month ago, the shelter banned visitors and volunteers. And now, there's been bigger changes.
The most significant way it changes our operations is through food. So one of the biggest donations that we get on a daily basis is food, and the food through 3 local schools and restaurants. And since all of them are impacted, we very, very rarely get donations now. So a lot of the food that we have to bring into the shelter, because we still have to feed our residents. We still have, 66 residents, half of who are not in our shelter. So we still have to feed them 3 meals a day. And so that requires purchasing of the food now, since it's not getting donated and delivered and prepared sometimes by volunteers. And so that's just been a pretty big hurdle to overcome.
While Stepping Stone was able to secure grants and donations to help with the hotel costs, finding extra dollars for the additional food costs is much more difficult.
Interestingly enough, there's a lot of emergency funds for food shelves, which are in desperate need of help as well, which is great. But for the emergency shelter funds, it excludes food as a priority. So it's what we are depending on is the generosity of the community to help us with this purchasing power, because our budget's going to at least double, if not triple, in food costs because of this, at least in the immediate.
And while the struggle for food dollars is there, so is the struggle for health.
So we've been implementing taking temperatures, both for residents and staff. And last week, Friday, we had 3 residents come with a temperature over 100.4. And so we placed them in quarantine. We had 1 woman and 2 men.
Mercy Hospital has set up a process for Stepping Stone staff and residents to be tested for COVID once symptoms develop. But getting to the test creates new challenges.
The problem is transportation. Transportation is always a hurdle for those who are experiencing homelessness, but for those who need to get tested, it's even worse, because right now I can't ethically ask anyone to transport them in a car.
Knowing that community spread of the virus is high, she worries how long it will be before more residents and staff become sick.
Once our staff start getting sick, and it's not if, it's when, my real fear is how quickly staff are going to get sick, and if that means we'd have to shut our doors. Because there is a point where if we can't staff it, we can't exist. In addition to immediate food and money needs, Stepping Stone shares an Amazon list of specific needs at the shelter.